Nigel Farage versus Liz Truss, a closer look at their economic visions for Britain. As Britain looks toward the next phase of its political and economic journey, comparisons between different leadership styles and policy approaches have never been more important. Two of the most discussed figures in recent UK political history, Nigel Farage and Liz Truss, offer very distinct, yet occasionally overlapping, views on the economy. But how do their plans stack up? What lessons can be learned from Liz Truss's brief tenure as Prime Minister? And what might a Farage-led economic model look like, particularly if his Reform UK party continues to gain traction? In this video, we'll take a balanced, fact-based look at both leaders' economic positions, how they reflect broader political ideologies, and what impact they could have on the British public if implemented. Liz Truss's time as Prime Minister may have been brief, but it left a lasting impression on the UK's political and economic landscape. Her economic vision, unveiled in the now infamous mini-budget of September 2022, centered around aggressive tax cuts, reduced regulation, and a supply-side push for growth. "We believe in growth. Growth, growth, growth," Truss declared at the Conservative Party conference. Her plan included cutting the top rate of income tax, scrapping the planned rise in corporation tax, and lifting caps on bankers' bonuses. Truss and her Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, argued that these measures would stimulate investment and turbocharge the UK economy post-Brexit. However, the markets reacted with deep concern. The pound plummeted, government borrowing costs soared, and the Bank of England was forced to intervene to stabilise pension funds. Within weeks, Truss had reversed most of the policies, and her leadership collapsed. While some free market economists defended her intentions, many critics argued the execution was rushed and lacked the necessary credibility with global investors. Nigel Farage, now aligned with Reform UK, has not held office in government but continues to wield substantial influence over right-leaning politics. His economic ideas are rooted in a mix of populism, deregulation, and national independence. Farage has advocated for scrapping inheritance tax, simplifying the tax system, and reducing government bureaucracy. He also places strong emphasis on energy independence, particularly through domestic fossil fuel development and less reliance on imported energy. "We need to stop relying on foreign powers and start investing in ourselves," Farage recently stated during a Reform UK policy session. Unlike Truss, whose strategy was driven by traditional Thatcherite economics, Farage's tone leans toward economic nationalism, focusing on British industries, UK-made goods, and reduced immigration to relieve pressure on public services. He has been critical of large-scale spending but supports targeted tax relief for working-class families. However, critics argue that his proposals often lack detailed costings or clear implementation strategies. Both Truss and Farage support smaller government and lower taxes, aligning with traditional conservative economic thinking. However, their political delivery and audience differ. Truss's approach was technocratic and top-down, appealing to financial markets and corporate sectors. Farage, meanwhile, speaks directly to voters who feel left behind by mainstream parties. Where they differ most sharply is on international trade and immigration. Truss, as a former foreign secretary, was a staunch advocate for global trade agreements and liberalization. Farage, by contrast, prioritizes domestic control and views international entanglements with skepticism. On energy, both support deregulation, but Farage places heavier emphasis on fossil fuels, whereas Truss had signaled a willingness to embrace nuclear and renewables alongside traditional energy sources. While Liz Truss's economic plan faced swift rejection from the markets, Nigel Farage's ideas have yet to be tested at the executive level. However, public frustration with the status quo means that alternative voices, including Farage's, continue to gain attention, particularly on social media and alternative media platforms. Recent polls show that while Reform UK still trails the major parties, it has grown significantly in support among working-class voters, especially in regions hardest hit by inflation and wage stagnation. Still, economists remain cautious. Many argue that without credible fiscal backing and a realistic implementation framework, bold rhetoric can backfire, as seen during Truss's time in office. The comparison between these two economic approaches highlights a central tension in modern British politics: the desire for rapid change versus the need for financial stability. Do voters want tax cuts and deregulation at the potential expense of market confidence? Or are they more persuaded by economic nationalism and policies that put British industry and families first, even if they come without fully detailed plans? Ultimately, this is more than a debate about numbers, it's a debate about values, priorities, and trust. As Britain prepares for the next general election, these economic visions will come under increasing scrutiny. Whether you favor Truss's pro-growth gamble or Farage's grassroots-focused approach, understanding the implications is key to making informed choices. What do you think? Should the UK pursue aggressive tax cuts to stimulate growth, or focus on rebuilding economic independence and energy security? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you stay informed on every angle of the political and economic stories shaping your world. Thanks for watching, and remember, the more informed we are, the better the future we can build.